Good evening, everyone. Welcome. So excited about tonight's broadcast. Licking. Listen, y'all, I know how to talk. I promise. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. I am excited to be before you on this fantastic Tuesday evening. For those of you, if this is your first time joining me, welcome to the space. I am your vision coach, Latoya Early. I am also the founder of Chase Great Enterprises. We are a coaching and leadership development resource for personal and professional development. So I am excited to be before you on tonight. And guess what, guys? We are bringing a very special author to the space on tonight. We're going to talk about our new project. It's not new. I guess it's our fourth volume. So it isn't new, but it is new to some of you. The Coach My Life Network, the Coach My Life Anthology we launched back in 2018. The Coach My Life Anthology is all about allowing the coaches, the certified coaches of Chase Great, to come in and write their first book. This book is a combination of all of our different experts, all of our different specialties. We come together and we share good information to share with amazing individuals such as yourself. So I want to say hello to everyone. Do me a favor and share this broadcast. Tag someone who you believe could benefit from tonight's broadcast. We won't be before you too long. I just want to introduce you to one of our amazing authors and contributors to the Coach My Life Volume 4 Anthology. I'm excited about it because this project is near and dear to me. It is our opportunity to provide you coaching in a book. So we're going to continue this party without any further delay. I'm going to bring up Coach Latresa to the stage. Hello, Coach Latresa.
Hey, I'm
Welcome.
excited to be here.
Yes, excited. We have not again, just we've done the anthologies, but we have not had the opportunity to talk about volume 4. We haven't talked about our spring launch. Last week we did do our official launch and we had the opportunity to talk to the different authors, but now we're going to break down and we're going to talk with each individual author over the next several weeks. So I do hope that you join us. I hope that you are tagging someone in the comments that you feel could benefit from today's broadcast. Again, we're going to talk about bereavement. We're going to talk about your mindset while you're going through bereavement, some tips, some strategies. What are some things you could do to help yourself navigate through that bereaving process through writing? Now that's I'm gonna give Coach Latresa her opportunity to chime in and introduce herself, but that's pretty much what we're gonna talk about tonight. So I want to make sure that you guys are in the comments. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you'd like to ask Coach Latresa, this will be the perfect time to do so. And make sure you guys grab your copy of the Coach My Life Anthology. The link will be available in the caption. It is also available inside of the comments. Make sure you guys grab your copy. So without further ado, Coach Latresa, please introduce yourself. Let the listeners know who you are. Let them know your chapter and what you'll be talking about in the upcoming release of the Coach My Life Anthology Volume 4.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I am Latresa Rice, your mindset coach. I help bereaved people regain hope by rediscovering their identity and healing through writing. I'm excited to be before you today as we discuss my chapter in the book. My chapter in the book is called Embrace the Royal You. Embrace the Royal You. Some of you may be thinking to yourself, okay, what does that mean? At times when we're going through grief, sometimes that can really knock us off our square. Your loved one dies and that you were super close to that person. Sometimes it's hard to press forward. So in my chapter, I'm giving you different tools and guidelines to help you navigate that healing journey to wholeness. And also in there, we're also highlighting some other tips that you can use along that journey, right? So one of the things we need to make sure we're mindful of is that depression itself affects over 300 million people worldwide. And so we have to find ways to navigate that process. Yes, we're trusting God. We definitely trust God. He's the one that ultimately brings healing. It's not us. but there are some natural tools that you can use. And when you are writing, you are making a decision. See, sometimes when we are in our thoughts, especially when you're dealing with grief, you have all these different thoughts, which are attacks that are coming in your mind. Well, maybe I should have went with, I should have died with them. Well, maybe I won't ever find another love like that again. And all these different thoughts that go on in your mind. But when you open your mouth and speak, you are stepping into your royal position that God has called you in. When you are writing, you're taking authority. Because you think about scribes and you think about people who write, you are actually taking authority over whatever you are dealing with in that moment. So we want to make sure that we're embracing the royal you, and I'll give you some more insight to that. But I want to turn it back over to Coach Latoya.
You know what? Something that I truly appreciate about your coaching style, your coaching process, is one of the things that I've noticed is you when we talk about writing, and Coach Latresa has facilitated workshops at our conferences. Coach Latresa has done master classes. If you are inside of the Coach My Life Network, it is a complimentary Facebook group. I encourage you to head over to the Facebook group and join us. There are trainings available there for you if you are you're processing this season of grief and bereavement. You've lost a loved one and you're trying to figure out, how do I continue to move forward? What I appreciate about Coach Latresa's process is the writing process. I know many of us, we think, oh, I don't have enough information for a book, or I can't write a book, or that's just not me. But what I've found to be very therapeutic about writing, which really falls into what Coach Latresa does professionally as a coach and as a licensed therapist, is that writing process. Being able to purge, being able to just release, whatever's keeping you bound or keeping you stuck in your process, being able to release those things in your writing. One thing that, we talk about here all the time, and I used to teach a class called Write the Vision, and it was so important to me because I understand the importance of writing. Right? I understand what happens, what transpires in our brain when we go pen to paper. And so knowing that Coach Latresa has this process for those who have lost a loved one, for those who may be, navigating through a bereavement season, a bereaving season, knowing that you have the type of support that from someone who can help you get through that process is just, is comforting, because we look for support and help in so many different ways. But have you ever thought to sit down and write it out and write it through? Because your story could be the exact story that changes someone else's life. So I truly do appreciate that. So let's kind of jump in. Let's get to know Coach Latresa a little more. Again, Coach Latresa has been with Chase Great for how many years have you been with us?
Oh, 3. I believe it's 3.
Been 3 years. So Coach Latresa has completed the Chase Gray University niche certification program. So she is a certified mindset coach. Not only has she diligently completed the curriculum, but she's added so much value to the community. She's added so much value to our content and what we provide to you. And I say this all the time. I said this on our last broadcast. I talked about how, she coached me too. While I may be the coach, I love receiving from our coaches, because I am a believer in niche coaching. I'm a believer in finding the problem that you've been called to solve and really becoming the expert of that problem. Why? Because when someone needs a specialty doctor, they go to a specialty doctor. Why is it that we feel like we should be able to go to a therapist or to a coach or to, a provider, a service provider, and they're able to give us all things? No, we need to go someone who can really specify our area. So while Coach Latresa has been with us for 3 years, I want to talk about your specialty as a coach and what guided you to that area of expertise.
My. Well, my specialty as a coach was not something I said, you know what, this is what I want to do right here, Lord. I want to be a bereavement. I want to deal with that. But one of the things that I learned while going through the courses with Chase Great University is that what you've been called from is what you're being called to. And I remember praying, because when I first signed up to take the classes and become a coach, because I said, okay, Lord, I have been watching the videos from Coach Latoya for, I want to say, at least a year or two. I was watching the videos and I'm like, this is good. I really like her stories. Oh, I like her excitement. This is a good thing. I just kept clicking and watching. And then one segment, she said, these are the keys to let you know that God is calling you to be a coach. And when she said these three key things, I said, wait a minute, I got all of that. So I went to prayer and I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign up. I'm going to sign up today. Now, I still had an issue. My money mindset was out of whack. So at first, I looked at it as an expense versus an investment. And so at that caused me not to sign up when I knew I needed to. But then there was this, she did something, I want to say it was like a marketing madness, or it was a challenge. But it was a free challenge. I said, I could do this. And then there was another challenge that was like 100 and something. I said, I'm going to make this investment. And then from there, I said, okay, Lord, I know you're calling me to be a coach. So I must be a public speaking coach. I've been doing public speaking for at least 15 to 20 years. That's my area. I know that's my area. Thank you, Jesus. But you know what? I got the class and I sat down, I got on my knees and I prayed to God. And he said, no, you're a mindset coach. I said, mindset coach. Well, what does that mean? So then he walked me through the different losses. When I was 7 years old, my mom died from AIDS. We were told that, oh, she just died of pneumonia. And, and as I went through some different things, I had multiple other losses. People who were closer to me, I lost them. My cousin, my aunt, another uncle. And it was back-to-back losses over the years. But what he showed me was I had a different mindset with regards to each of the losses. And that mindset is something that I can help somebody else gain. The mindset of being royalty and how you don't have to sit in what you're dealing with. But flash forward to more present day. We're going to flash forward to present day. In 2020, the grandmother that raised me after my mom died, she died in 2020. And a month later, my new husband died. Let me tell you, I was devastated. I was in shock, first and foremost, because this is someone who I didn't even know personally. We had one mutual friend in common on Facebook. He slid in my DMs. He slid in my DMs. And I'm like, who is this guy? I went to go research this guy, because I don't know what's going on. But after about a year and a half, we courted and then we got married. Well, he lived in a whole nother state. He lived in Columbia, South Carolina. But one of our agreements is if it goes any further and we're talking about marriage, that he would move here, because I was still making sure I took care of my grandmother. I knew she was dealing with a lot of health challenges, and he was fine with that. So he moves here. And then 5 months after our wedding day and after our marriage, here comes COVID-19. So my new husband, after 5 months of marriage, dies from COVID-19. And that was actually a month after my grandmother who raised me died. So you're talking about having both sets of obituaries in this room. I had all of his things on one side of the room, all of my grandmother's things on the other side of the room. I remember having the blackout curtains and being upset when light came through the curtains. Man, I'm still here. I went through all of that stuff. But then after I went through the period of saying, you know what, God, because I had to be real. God, I'm mad at you. Like, let me just be real. I'm upset. Why would you tell me it's okay to marry this individual and take him 5 months afterwards? All of my help is gone. What am I supposed to do? So I was upset about that. But one of the things that God showed me during that process is that even in being upset, I didn't stop talking to him. See, sometimes we get upset with our parent. But if you get upset with your parent because they did something that you didn't like, you don't just stop talking to him. If you're going to get out of what you're dealing with, you have to stay connected to the source, even if you're sharing the rawness of how you're feeling in the moment. So I remember talking to God and being real with God with how I was feeling in the moment. And at the same time, I remember looking in the mirror and declaring something opposite of what I was feeling. So I felt like life was over. I started checking my life insurance policies, thinking I could die any day. We're dealing with COVID. I don't know nothing about this thing. So let me make sure all my stuff is in order. So my nieces, my nephews, my god babies will be all right if I die tomorrow. So I remember doing all of that and dealing with all of this stuff. And I had to take some steps to start moving stuff out of the room. Because when you are dealing with depression. That's what it was, major depression. When you're dealing with depression, if everything in your environment tells you you should be depressed and you're not using the authority that God has given you in the tongue to speak opposite, you're going to be more and more depressed. So I had to start moving things. I remember taking one tie out of the room for my late husband and crying and walking to the basement and putting it in a bag. I would move one item per day. That was all I could do in that moment. But when you look back and reflect back, doing something is better than doing nothing. So that is just a little bit about my story, and that is some of the things that I will be sharing even in this chapter. How do you move forward after great loss?
Listen, that was a lot. That was because I wanted to interrupt you about 5 6 times. But remember, I told Coach Latresa, I said, we're gonna stick to the time. I promise you I am, right? So I did very good. I'm very proud of myself because I just wanted to interject. No. So what's funny is when Coach Latresa talks about how she watched this video that I did 4 years ago, and I talked about these three things. I still can't find the video where I don't even know what three things she's talking about. So grateful. I'm so grateful that we've been consistent and we've been grounded in the same message over the past 10 years because I have no idea what video she's talking about. But no, I'm laughing with her. But listen, I honor you. And I say this every time we hear her story because you don't know what that looks like until you're going through it. Right? You don't know. When I lost my dad, and don't get me wrong, let me tell you what's crazy is I remember preparing at the age of 12. I'll never forget this. I remember preparing saying, okay, I think my dad's gonna die. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to accept it now, right? Fast forward 20 plus years later, even when it happened, I, mentally I had already said I knew that this was happening, especially because my dad passed from diabetes. But I knew it was happening, but of course you don't know it and how to express it until you're in it. And so to know that for those of you out there who may have lost a close relative, a loved one, a husband after 5 months, like, come on. You having that type of support to help you navigate through that type of experience is something that you don't want to skip out on, right? And so what I love most about Coach Latresa is her coaching isn't a time for you to be down on yourself, right? As many times as she tells her story is not to revisit the sadness, but to celebrate the healing. Because it's something to be able to have this conversation, talk about it, and then be able to pour and support the next person and helping them through that process. So know that coaching is much bigger than just sitting down with someone writing goals. It's about taking the time to really understand who you are at your core so that you can first stop setting goals that you're not reaching. Let's just be honest, right? Let's stop setting goals that we're not reaching. Let's stop trying to trick ourselves and do some self-assessing and some evaluating so that we can identify, okay, what are the areas in my life that are causing me to become stagnant? Okay, if losing a loved one, if you're having a problem with grieving, if you're having a problem with, and when we talk about grieving, we're talking about learning how to shift your mindset through that grieving process, right? Something that she just said, of course she didn't see it at that time, but one day at a time. Well, how do I go one day at a time? What should I be doing? How do I change my mindset? Because let's be honest, we could be mad at God, right? But why? The Bible says that everybody will die. Like we don't, or unless he comes back first. I paraphrase the word, y'all. So don't be mad at me. But we all have that time. We all can die, right? Unless Jesus comes back first. So, even though he says it, even though we know it, it's still something different when you experience it. And so I'm encouraging you, if you've lost a loved one, if you know someone who's lost a loved one, if you are experiencing bereavement and you don't know how to process it, you don't know how to get through it, and you do need a little additional support, I encourage you. The link for the Coach My Life Anthology is in the comments. It is also in the caption. This link is This link directs you straight to Coach Latresa's store. So do know that any books that are purchased through this link, all proceeds go back to Coach Latresa. This is her business. This is her product. Yes, she is under the Coach My Life umbrella and under the Coach My Life branding. But listen, we're about investing and reinvesting into our coaches. So once the project is done, our coaches receive 100% profit from their books. So I encourage you, buy one, buy two, buy five, buy books so that you can not only serve and support yourself, but you may have someone that you want to serve and support as well. So Coach Latresa, we talked about you and your niche specialty. Now we got a couple more minutes because I promise you I'm gonna be obedient.
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
so we talked about you and your niche specialty. We've talked about your chapter. Can you tell us what are you expecting the readers to gain from your chapter?
From this chapter, I'm expecting the readers to gain an understanding of how depression impacts multiple aspects of their life and how they can overcome that when they embrace the royal part of them. So when we deal with some things that are really heavy, sometimes we forget who we are. Like we have moments when it's like, oh, why am I going through this? And we have mindsets. And even in this chapter, I'm highlighting how depression, even when you deal with loss, is also coupled with abandonment. And how do I know I may be dealing with some abandonment issues? Well, let me tell you, if you got more than 5,000 unread emails, you're probably dealing with some abandonment issues. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because you're holding on to stuff that you have the authority to delete and remove. You have the authority to unsubscribe. Why won't you unsubscribe to that? Is it because you feel like they won't contact you again? Is it because your account is going to drop down to one? You have to
So
deal with the abandonment issues.
pause. I had to throw a flag on the play. So you trying to tell me that my hoarding of whatever I'm hoarding is a sign of abandonment?
Absolutely.
See, this is why these conversations are so it gets me on 10 because we think everything is so surface. The Bible says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, right? We wrestle not against flesh and blood. We wrestle against principalities. We come against the spiritual. And so the spirit of abandonment, how
Yeah.
does that show up in your life? How do
Yeah.
and I have a whole lot of emails. And
Come on.
I have not unsubscribed to a whole lot of emails. And you are right. It could be the fear of missing something. It could be the fear of detachment. I don't really know. It could be just flat out laziness. But whatever that looks like, how is abandonment showing up in your life? How is it showing up in your business? You don't know how until you take the time to do self-evaluating, do a self-assessment. You don't know how some of these spiritual fights are showing up physically. Don't assume that if you're suffering from abandonment, that only means that your behavior reflects you abandoning someone else. That's
Come
not
on.
what that means. It can show up in so many other areas. And unless you're willing to do the work, to sit down and say, okay, really, what am I fighting against? I share with you guys all the time. I have no problem with being transparent about my processes and my systems and what I go through personally. I didn't know that I suffered from the spirit of abandonment, right? And I sat down and I'll be discreet with who I was talking to, but they were family members, and I had to have a conversation because the Holy Spirit brought to my attention, hey, you still got a little gripe with this person. And it was like, but I thought I was okay. But when I sat back and I identified what that person did to me and how it made me feel, what stood out even more about this process is I thought I was good, right?
Right.
So I didn't know how the behavior was showing up. I thought I was good until something very small that had nothing to do with this person or the situation brought that red flag. And I said, okay, I had to step back and I had to go to that person and I had to really acknowledge and say, hey, this made me feel this way. And this person, of course, never knew it, but just to acknowledge the feeling so that I could check it. I no longer want to feel this way. I no one want to fight against this thing. So I'm encouraging you. Listen, we have 7 more authors to go to talk about their contributions to the Coach My Life Anthology. I encourage you to join us every week for the next 6 weeks, because I'm one of the authors, but I'm not going to interview myself. So I'll just kind of like throw myself in somewhere along the way. But we have 6 other authors that we're going to be talking to over the next 6 weeks. You never know whose story is connected to you.
Come on.
You
Woo.
don't know. I said, I talk to people all the
Jesus.
time, and I know they're like, oh, they get sick of me, but I try to share with them. Listen, if you're having all of these external problems, everything around you, it's not the external problems, it's
Come
you.
on.
And until you sit down and handle the spiritual conflict within you, you're going to always face controversy. And you're not going to know how to face the controversy and win. The Bible says
Come
that we're
on.
more than conquerors. Well, you can't be more than anything if you're not willing to acknowledge and address what's keeping you stuck. So listen, y'all know I can do
Absolutely.
this. Y'all already know.
Absolutely. Time to delete some emails.
Listen, I'm just gonna delete the whole account, because what I'm not about to do is go through all those emails. I don't even care that much, right? But again, something as small as
Yeah.
2,000 emails that's in your inbox for no reason.
I'm telling you, during that time in which I was dealing with the intensity, the magnitude of that depression, I had over 200,000 unread emails.
See?
And that in my prayer times when the Lord would to me, you don't want to detach some stuff. Because you have to operate in authority by saying, I'm going to unsubscribe, I'm going to delete, I'm going to reach out. But if you have all of these unread, it's just, it pops up and you see it there. Why is it there?
Right.
So we have to
But again, I need people to understand. I want you, if you don't get anything, I want you to understand that we're using the example of an email, right? It's funny, right? But it's real. That's a behavior. One of the things that we teach here at Chase Great, we talk about the behaviors. Do your behaviors align with what you believe?
That part.
When we sit down and we talk about the specific ideal client, we talk about their behaviors. I'm talking about the person. If you're saying I'm a mindset coach, right? And these are the people that I'm helping. If we're going to speak to the person that you're called to help, we need to identify who that person is. Well, what are they doing? What are some of the behaviors? Do they have 2,000, 20,000 emails, 200,000 emails, and they don't know why they have this attachment issue? They don't know that they're fighting against abandonment. They don't know that they're fighting against rejection. They don't know and because it's showing up in all of these different ways.
Absolutely.
But my thing is this: if you want change, you have to be willing to check self.
Absolutely.
Before you look at Sally, Joe, Paul, before you look at anybody else, and I know this is a Michael Jackson song, but my dad said it best. He said, first you got to look at the man in the mirror, because you may be saying that these other situations and these other people are keeping you stuck. And they're not keeping you stuck. So listen, I appreciate you, Coach Latresa, for just sharing, dropping some tidbits on your chapter and what you're contributing to the anthology. This anthology is going to be amazing. Not to say that our other volumes weren't amazing, because we've had some pretty amazing coaches contribute to the Coach My Life anthologies. So I love every contribution, but the reason why this one just feels so much more personal, and it's probably because I understand the stories that are being shared in the book. I know the process. I know what some of these coaches have experienced to get to where they are in business, to get to where they are in life, and to know that if he did it for them,
come on,
he did it for you, right? If he me, he'll do it for you. God is no God of respect of persons. He loves us each individually. Now I do say he my favorite. I'm his favorite because of some of the stuff that he be keeping me from, But at the end of the day, we know that he loves us equally and he loves us the same. And if you're fighting against something, I don't want you to sit back and say, oh, he's not going to do that for me, because that's not so. No. That's not so. So, Coach Latresa, we're going to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
I'm going to be obedient. Do you have any final words for our readers, for our listeners, for our viewers on tonight?
Yes, the only thing I do want to share a few mindsets that people may think are just, oh, this is what people say. I'm not a people person.
That's
Well,
good.
there's a
Come on.
reason why you're not a people person. That also highlights there's some abandonment issues. And so one of the mindsets that's connected to is people don't last long in life. So why develop relationships with others? And so what you see is you don't connect well with people in church. You don't connect well with people at your job. You don't connect well with family members. When we have certain mindsets, it impacts every other aspect of our life. So, with that being said, that's just one of the things that I'll be discussing in this chapter. With that being said, if you are dealing with any type of grief, and sometimes we need to grieve people that are still living. Let's be real. We have to grieve, go through the bereavement process for those who are still living because the relationship was severed to such an extent that it impacted your life. Whether you're dealing with abandonment issues, whether you're dealing with fear or even depression that they're gone, we have to go through that process. So, in this chapter, you'll see those different things. But what I want to encourage you to do is if you are ready to change your life and business and lifestyle and all these different areas that are covered in this book, don't miss your opportunity to get a copy of this book today. You want to put yourself in the best position to overcome the things that you wrestled with because God has called you to be a victor. He's called you victorious because that's who he is. So if you are his child, that's who you are. And it's time for you to get the tools that you need to show forth who God has already made you to be. Get your copy.
I love it. I love it. So listen, make sure you get that copy so you can get those mindset shifts. Some things that you may be saying to yourself, right? And you don't even know that you're saying these things to yourself. You're not even paying it any attention. It is time to wake up and be aware so that you can make the proper corrections and so that you can live life more abundantly. That is the overall goal of the Coach My Life Network is to show up and support those so that we can help you live and live life more abundantly. Listen, thank you so much, Coach Latresa, for rocking out with us on today. Last week I jacked up the schedule. I don't know who's next week. I think Demetrius really is next week. So we're going to be talking to a dad coach on next Tuesday. We're going to talk about being a father, being a leader as a father, and being a leader in the workplace. I'm excited about what he's going to talk about and what he's bringing to the table. So make sure you guys are marking your calendars, setting your alarms. I'll see you on next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here. Make sure you get your link. Get the link in the comments. Get the link in the caption. Purchase your copy of The Coach My Life. We're in pre-sales. Our official launch is May 10th. So make sure you get your signed copy today. Thank you so much, Coach Latresa, for rocking out with us and just pouring into us as you always do. And we will see you guys inside of the community. Make sure you search Coach Latresa inside of the Coach My Life Network Facebook group. Check out some of her complimentary trainings that are inside of the group so that you can become familiar with her messaging and her strategies, and you'll be that much closer to your freedom, your healing when you get that book. Okay, have a fantastic night. Thank you, Coach Latresa,
Thank
and we'll see
you.
you guys inside of the Facebook group.